most important seed we ever planted was that day on Kings Mountain. Because within an hour and 5 minutes, we planted the seed of freedom. Because what we done that day, if you think about it, it was nothing short of a miracle. Because there was a band of 900 starved, exhausted hunters and farmers, volunteered to the very last man. We stopped and we forced the retreat of the most powerful army in the world. Then we came home.
My friends, a lot of people think that when the Overmountain men went home, never again to come together as an army, that that's the end of the story of the Battle of Kings Mountain. But that's not the end of the story. In the weeks and months that followed, because of the courage and the dedication shown by the Overmountain men, the spirit and the will of the American people to win their independence from English rule was strengthened. And that is good, because battles remained. On January 17th, 1781, at Cowpens, British forces serving under the command of the tyrant Bannister Tarleton engaged Patriot forces, and in a battle of historic importance, they were soundly defeated. Bloody Ban himself was forced to flee the field in order to save his own life. Later that year, at Guilford Courthouse, while the battle itself was a victory for the British, the losses that they suffered were so great that Cornwallis realized the futility of continuing the Southern campaign. He withdrew his men and retreated north into Virginia. In Virginia, Cornwallis came to command the British forces serving in a little place called Yorktown. While in Yorktown, Cornwallis came under attack by combined French and American forces under the inspired leadership of General George Washington. After a siege lasting 3 weeks, Cornwallis realized that his army had not only been defeated, but he was completely surrounded. On October 19, 1781, Cornwallis surrendered his entire force, numbering over 7,000 men. Other conflicts would occur, but Yorktown was the last major military engagement of the Revolutionary War to occur on American soil. Peace and the recognition of nationhood would come later, on September 3rd, 1783, with the signing of the Treaty of Paris. On that day, the American Revolution came to an end. Victory and independence had been won. Only now can we say that the story of Kings Mountain is over. But it was replaced by an even greater story. A story that is still being written today. That, my friends, is the story of the United States of America. Thank you. Now, on behalf of the Overmountain Victory Trail Association, we would like to thank you for this opportunity to share with you a little bit of the history of this great nation. And speaking about the OVTA, I'd like to bring Steve back up to tell you a little bit of the history of the Overmountain Victory Trail Association. Thank you very much.
Well, I won't do the history of the Overmountain Victory Trail in first person. I'll just do it as me, but you probably won't notice a difference. Back in 1973, they was a group of folks dressed like us. They may not have been as pretty as us, but they started at Sycamore Shoals in the beginning. And they followed the best they could the trail that the Overmountain men took. And they walked every step of the way to Kings Mountain, South Carolina. Well, this went on for a few years. A few years later, they moved all the way up to Abington, Virginia, where William Campbell and the Virginians mustered. And they walked all the way to Kings Mountain, South Carolina. And they'd pass through the communities. People got to noticing the same people come through the same time every year. Well, they started bringing them fried chicken and potato salad and hanging out with these strange-looking folks. And this went on for years and years. Well, in 1980, Senator James Broyhill seen the importance of this trail and this story. He took it to Washington, and President Jimmy Carter signed it into law, and it became a national historical trail, just like the Santa Fe Trail, like the Lewis and Clark Trail. Well, a few years ago, about the time a couple of us joined anyway, some of us decided to quit doing so much walking and start doing more talking. We decided that this story wasn't being told. It wasn't being taught in the schools. 10 years ago, the first year I done the march, I think we programmed in 2.5 weeks for 5,400 people. And about 4,000 of them were 4th and 5th graders. Last year, it was my 10th year, Richard's 10th year doing it. In 3 weeks, we programmed for 14,000 people. And over 8,000 of them were 4th and 5th graders.
Amen.
We work in partnership with the National Park Service. Right now, I think there's 80-some mile, I think 80-some mile of actual trail that you can walk on. So we work in partnership with the National Park Service to try to preserve and get more of this trail on the ground. We work with landowners to try to get easement rights to preserve the trail. If you go to Bluff City, Tennessee, there's an elementary school built right on the Overmountain Victory Trail. But if you walk through the school, they got it painted on the floor. It says the Overmountain Victory Trail. All the way through school. Down in Marion, it goes through the Kmart parking lot. And I got to be honest with you, there have been times when a group of us stand in the Kmart parking lot and tell this story. But what we do also is a lot of the communities we go through, the schools, they just don't have the funds to bring the kids out to hear this story. So we use our membership money, some of the money, because we get grant money from the National Park, but we have to use it in a certain manner, but we use our membership money to buy diesel fuel for the buses to bring these kids out. In Abington, Virginia, it's mandatory in, what, 4 counties? Yeah, 4 counties. It's mandatory. We're there for 3 days. They have to bring all the 4th and 5th graders out. We got camps set up. We're doing all the demonstrations, and they hear this story. In Yorktown, where Ferguson was gone, it's the only piece of ground on the whole trail that the Patriots and the British slept on the same ground, but not at the same time. But the day we're there, they bring 850 8th graders in, and they hear this story. We call it keeping the story alive. And this trail, this march, this annual march that we do, has been going on for 43 years. This will be 44. And we always encourage people to join us. You don't have to dress funny. You don't have to ford the rivers like we do. You don't even have to stand up in front of people and do the story. But we always encourage people to join our organization, because even if it's nothing more than a membership, you're helping bring these kids out. You're bringing them out on the trail. They get to stand on a piece of trail that these men took for our freedom. So we got our table set up right outside, and we got membership forms, we got brochures, we even got a map. If you're so inclined to walk the whole trail, From Abington to Kings Mountain, I think it's only 258, but if you do the other side of it, it's like 330 something. But we got the maps out here, we got our memberships, and feel free to ask us any questions if you want to. If we don't know the answer, we'll make something up. We've been doing this so long, that's what we do. We just kind of hit it on the fly. But that story that you heard, like I said, we, two years ago, I believe it was, the Park Service and the OVTA put me in as Director of Interpretation. So instead of just doing this story 2.5 weeks a year, I'm doing it year round. Okay, this, coming up here this weekend is the fifth or sixth program I've done in 2 weeks. So, you know, I would encourage you to join us. Membership, we got a website, you can join us online. When the annual march kicks off, we'll have the schedule of the march, where we'll be, the days we'll be at these places. And if you have to pick one day, this is my favorite day. Actually, we've got a couple of them now. On September the 25th at 2 o'clock, you'll see a whole group of us come out of the woods and we'll ford the Watauga River. Happens every year, unless it's flooding. A few years ago, John Slaughter, the superintendent of the trail, he had his uniform on, and somebody asked him, was it Fort Watauga? They said, John, you're going to cross the river? He said, if I had the clothes, I'd do it. I said, stand right there, we'll fix you up. So he crossed the river with us, and there's a group of us sitting around drying out, and I told him, I said, I'm going to cross the Catawba River this year. He said, why? I said, because I can. So we've turned that into an annual river crossing on the 1st of October. If you're so inclined to come to Morganton, you'll see a group of us coming across the Catawba. And so I would encourage each and every one of you to join us, whether it's online keeping up with us, or dress out, come out with us, or don't dress out, just come out and hang out with us, or bring us some fried chicken. But I want to thank you all. It's been a true honor, because in the 43 years of the Overmountain Victory Trail, I don't think this story's ever been told on this spot. And it's truly an honor.
Isn't this a wonderful place?
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what history and reenacting and living history brings to life. We understand our country, we understand the sacrifices made by those great patriots of years gone by, and these gentlemen, we're greatly indebted to them. I'm so excited that they came here. We're so excited to have you. This is always a home for you, okay? You're welcome anytime. Can we take any questions? Anybody have any questions for these gentlemen? They answered a lot of questions about Kings Mountain, I can tell you that. You did a good job. You did a good job.
They go to Kings Mountain and then go down to Cowpens and then come back up to Kings Mountain again.
No. There was a few months between battles. Some of the men that fought at Kings Mountain did fight at Cowpens, but most went home.
Well, a lot of the guys didn't have family back across the mountain, so they joined up and fought the Cowpens later.
Can you throw rocks on Ferguson's grave? Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
We've all done that. We've all done that.
I've carried it from every end of this
Every
trail.
year I drop a rock.
Well, these gentlemen talked about Cowpens. They also talked about Kings Mountain. And they also mentioned Guilford Courthouse. And we're very, very delighted tonight to have with us Larry Babbitts, who's going to do a book signing from about 6 to 6:30. I think our bookstore is still open, so if you all would like to get copies of his book about Guilford Courthouse or Devil Whipping, and come back for the 7 o'clock lecture, we'd be honored to have you. And we can really, you might say, lay the foundation for a big celebration, hopefully later tonight.